Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you another video. All right, so I have a few other things on my mind basketball-wise. Listening to the ESPN panel just now talking about who they think is going to be the best team in the Western Conference and various different teams. Um, and I was just thinking about, who do I like right now? The Denver Nuggets came to mind, Phoenix Suns, Lakers, Kings, the usual suspects. OKC is now in there. New Orleans, if they have a full healthy season with Zion, is in there. Yeah, those are the teams that come to mind. Houston, if all of their kids play well together, I think they could be a 35-win team or something like that. So it's a lot of teams in the Western Conference that are going to be emerging, and I don't think any teams are really falling off organically. So it's just going to be some pushing around and probably a lot of parity amongst the West again. Maybe a few teams fall out, a few more push in, but basically the usual suspects. Memphis will be in there somewhere. I don't think Ja's 25-game absence is going to kill them. I don't think, and I've said this once before, and I'm going to be honest about this. I don't think he affects winning as much as people think on the Memphis Grizzlies. It's those defensive players, the Jaren Jacksons, the Brandon Clarks. If they use him, Kenny Lofton, Bane, all the sum of their parts ultimately make them as good as they are. My question is, are they better without Dillon Brooks defensively? And are they going to feel his presence gone? Obviously, you're bringing in Marcus Smart. I just forgot they brought in Marcus Smart, so never mind. Probably not. They upgraded there. So, again, I don't think Memphis falls off. I don't think they do. I think they're going to be just as good as they were last year, probably 3 seed, 4 seed in the Western Conference, just the same. So, certain teams, I think people think it's a foregone conclusion that Phoenix is going to be good. And I do like what Phoenix did in free agency with what little they had to work with. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the problems that Phoenix has aren't still the problems that Phoenix has. They don't have a whole lot of depth. They don't. They improved upon their bench, but it ain't good. It's not a good bench. It's just the best they could do with what it is they had. They're going to need their stars to be stars all 82 games, or 80, to play in-season tournament. Likely make it 80 games. Unless they win it, it'll be 83. And then they got to be healthy enough to get through the playoffs. Who are these guys we're talking about? We're talking about Bradley Beal, KD, and Devin Booker. You expect those guys to stay healthy? Yeah, no, those are not the players that you expect to stay healthy. Absolutely not. So if they're relying upon each other and a bad bench, then how the hell are they going to be good enough to win the West? That's the problem. It's like, if they're healthy, yeah, they're unguardable. But how many games do I expect that trio to play together? 27, 30, 35 games at the most. I'm telling you, I don't expect them to be on the floor hardly at all. And so that's why Phoenix is not real to me as it pertains to being an elite contender. I think they get a 5 seed, 6 seed. They got the talent to get 70 games, but they're never going to be on the floor that much for that to be the case. This is not realistic, man. We're asking KD to be healthy? What are you, running back the clock? And Bradley Beal to be healthy? Have y'all seen Bradley Beal's career injury history? That boy be missing 40 games and seasons and stuff. Nah. And now he has about as much help as he had in Washington to do the intangible things. Just as much help. They got more guys who could score on the offensive end, but on the defensive end, boxing out all that stuff, that physical stuff, he's going to have to do a lot of that himself. You know what I'm saying? So that's my thing with the Phoenix Suns. That's not real. I told y'all that wasn't real. It's not real. That's not a real contender. They are a real contender as it pertains to staying healthy, but the realistic expectations for them to stay healthy shouldn't even be there. They should not exist. So that's what I think of the Phoenix Suns. They'll be a playoff team. They'll be in the mix. Golden State, that's garbage. I'm telling y'all, Golden State is constructed horribly this season. Absolutely horribly. They're even more so relying upon older players to do more. That's garbage. I'll be extremely surprised if they make the playoffs. I'm telling y'all, the Golden State Warriors suck. Real life suck. They're not very good. They must stay healthy, and they're relying upon people that's not going to stay healthy. So that's what I got to say. I don't think that team's going to win more than 35 games this year. For their standards, that makes them suck. Because they're a champion contender every year with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. And this year, I legitimately think they're probably as good as the Minnesota Timberwolves. Probably. Maybe not even. Maybe Minnesota actually finishes ahead of them, depending on how things go this year with them. So I'm just not a believer. I don't like anything they got going on right now, except for Steph Curry, Moses Moody, Andrew Wiggins. That's about it. Everything else on that team arguably could go. And Podziemski. And the kids they brought in. Tracy did. That's it. After that, everything in Golden State, as far as I could tell, it could be moved. Draymond, Klay, all that stuff could be moved, man. Those are contracts I don't care to have. unless I'm the Golden State Warriors and I'm in love with those players. But as a person who's on the outside of that, who just wants to make a canvas better and get them to championship glory, hell no, that's a bunch of garbage. It needs to go, most of it. 2023. Last year, no. The year before that, of course not. But right now, going forward, hell no. Them contracts ain't good. Let's just be real. So that's just where we at with that. Golden State is not a real contender to me. Sacramento Kings are very good. You know what I mean? I like the Sacramento Kings. I don't think they've fallen off at all. They solidified having Sabonis locked up. They got Fox locked up. They got everything going forward for them. Year 2 for Keegan Murray. I don't think they make big moves. I know they got that center from overseas that they like. I just don't know if I should expect them to continue to be successful or if I can say that was an outlier and they're headed back to being who they used to be. I don't really know. I really don't know with the Kings. I'm almost poised to see them fail now because they've been the Kings for so long. So it's like, can they really have 2 good seasons in a row when they missed the playoffs almost for 28 straight years? I almost think that was just a 1-year thing. But they've made good moves. Still got Malik Monk. Still got Davion Mitchell. Still got all this talent. So maybe they can rise above what their ultimate history has always been. And this could be the first time we've seen a real Kings sustainable good team since the Chris Webber days. But I don't know. I just have to see it to believe it. 2 good Kings years in a row. I've never seen that. I don't think I've ever seen that. 2 good Kings years in a row? Maybe only that era. I think they were good for like 3 years. That Chris Webber team. They were good for 3 years straight. After that, they ain't never been good for more than a year. Or any good at all, for that matter. So yeah, the Kings are good enough on paper, but their aura is that of losing. So I wouldn't be surprised if they don't make the playoffs, even though they got all that talent. I know that sounds weird, but I've been watching this all my life. I'm telling you, that's how it kind of goes for some teams. They just had that 1 good year, and that'd be it. It's like the Atlanta Hawks that 1 year where they went to the Eastern Conference Finals. Have they been any good since? Some teams are just who they are, man. And I wonder if the beam is really who they're going to be going forward, or we're just going to see them kind of fizzle out and just be an average team, man. I don't think that much different than the Denver Nuggets than the Sacramento Kings in that way. And I think one of the biggest things that is being underestimated is the absence of Bruce Brown. He was a massive piece that kept them above the float and made them impossible to guard for a lot of teams that they ultimately end up getting through to get to the championship. If Bruce Brown wasn't out there, that's a different series for the Lakers, y'all. Because he was one of the pieces that ultimately made it so that we could never get over the hump. And when he checked into the game, he was so big, he was just pushing around our little guards and getting easy buckets. And he hit some of the big shots that ultimately ended some of those close games. So it's like, that piece, they're a bit more vulnerable now. You're going to expose that bench. And like I said, Strother going to be a hell of a rookie. Hunter had a fantastic game yesterday as well. They both did. So maybe that can be a prelude to them really being contributors to this Denver team. I know a lot of people are excited about Peyton Watson, the young fella out of LBC. So maybe he could step forward. You know, they got some young talent, but they didn't use it last year. They didn't check Peyton in the game at all, as far as I could tell in the series I was watching with the Lakers. So it's like, Denver, just like Sacramento, have watched be bad for so long until I'm poised for them to go back down to the toilet at some point. Even with Jokic. Even with, Gordon with the back brace. Not Gordon, Porter, rather, with the back brace. Gordon a year older. Murray's healthy for now. How long is the knees going to hold up? I don't think that there's any reason to doubt Jokic in any way. But the stuff around him was never all that sturdy to begin with. They just overcame it. And don't underestimate how much a path can work for you. Because the Denver Nuggets really did have a really, really favorable path. Let's just be real. They ran into a Minnesota team that could never see them. They ran into a Phoenix team that wasn't no good, even though everybody thought they were good. They weren't nothing. And they ran into a Laker team that couldn't see them either, with old men with bad feet and altitude. And then they ran into a Miami Heat team that we all know wasn't actually as good as they ended up playing themselves to be. They weren't as good as they looked. They just ran through the East at the right time. They got hot at the right time, had the right type of talent to overcome a very, very questionable Eastern Conference path they damn selves. In other words, I don't know that Denver wins last year's championship if they run into some of the teams that I think would otherwise have been constructed a bit better over the past several years that have ultimately won championships around them. Would they have beat Milwaukee? I don't think so. Would they beat them Golden State Warriors that won 2 years ago? I don't think so. You know what I'm saying? These are things I'm just being honest about. Denver Nuggets are a great champion, but they lost some very key pieces that made them dangerous in Bruce Brown and Jeff Green. And I don't think that they brought themselves anything that would otherwise make them dangerous at all. So they're relying upon health, which is a mistake with the players that they got, and they're relying on being able to get through another year with a shallow basketball team with hardly no bench, and that's not going to be good for them, in my opinion. So I think the Denver Nuggets are a one and done type of NBA champion. I think a lot of people are assuming they're coming back, but they're not that good. They only had 8 players they were using in rotation. 2 of them dudes are gone, and they didn't replace them with anybody that they were likely to want to play. They're now down to what, 6? And y'all think they're going to defend the NBA championship with 80 games to play in playoffs? I'm telling y'all, that was a one and done thing. Denver's out of here. They'll make the playoffs. They'll be really good. But Jokic winning the championship this season, don't see it. Don't see it. Why don't I see it? Because they don't have the bodies. They're going to have to make it through an 80-game schedule, fam. That is a lot of games to ask players who've already had a lot of injury history to make it healthy. I'm telling you, this is not very difficult for me to see. If they have to play without load management, some of these teams are not going to make it through the season. They're just too old. They are relying upon heavy contracts, which have allowed them only a few players that can really play, and they're asking those heavy contract players to do the most heavy lifting with already so much on their legs. And so I just see a team like Golden State trying to go out there again, and it's like, nah, man. Nah, let's just be honest. Y'all a little too old right now. Y'all just a little too old right now. And you're getting Chris Paul on the team is just misguided in every way. And so that's why I look at them and just Steph Curry, if I'm him, I'm like, man, I gotta really think about what my future's gonna hold. Do I want to retire early so that I can go into the sunset as a Golden State Warrior, or do I have to start thinking like Dame's thinking? Because if I'm Steph Curry, that's exactly what's going through my head right now. And over the next 3 years, this is probably not gonna be where I end up being. Because look at what they're doing. Look, Chris Paul's contract, you're gonna give him a role, man. If you don't get out of here, $30 million of Chris Paul for 2 years, y'all crazy. When you have a point guard and Steph Curry, arguably one of the greatest players to ever play the game, like ain't no argument. He's definitely one of the greatest players ever played the game. He's arguably the damn GOAT. So it's like you got him running with stuff that he was running with 10 years ago, man. That is not how it's supposed to go. I'm sorry. This is not if you're really serious about winning. So, so the Western Conference is a little shaky. And I think it could be a team like the Lakers or a team like OKC or a team like, one of those squads that could really do it. Kings, they could probably rise to the top with the talent that they have amongst all these teams that are trying to go for the gusto without actually developing real talented benches and real talented, real stable foundations. So we talk about it all the time. I think it does equate to winning, and I think some of these teams that y'all think are champions, potential champions, are without it. So Denver, nah, not this year. Golden State, I don't see it. I don't see it. The moves y'all made weren't good enough. And so I look at my Laker team and I say we're relying upon too many young players, too many unproven guys, too many misfits. It looks great on paper as it pertains to our books, but you're going to be asking unproven guys to be big in big moments. It doesn't work. I know better. I absolutely know better. So that's one of those situations where it's like, I love our team because we're going to get better over the next several years. We're more so like a young team that's going to just love our progression regardless. If we make it to the second round this year, we're still going to look at that as somewhat progression because we have brand new players that would ultimately be contributing to that. The Max Christie's, Jalen Hood-Shafinos, they weren't here last year for Western Conference Finals berth, so we got to give them a different type of grace to pertain to what they can accomplish. And so that's why I'm looking at them like, man, do I expect Bron to stay healthy throughout the year? Of course not. Not 39 years of age. The AD, why the hell am I going to, you know what I mean? So for me, it's just like, we got a young team. If the stars can lead us to glory amongst all that inexperience around them, wonderful. But I'm not willing to get rid of any of that inexperience for players that are going to make them a little more seasoned so that they can have a better chance at the championship. I'm not going to do that because my future is more important than my present right now if I'm the Lakers. It just is. It's more important. And I've invested more in it. at this point. So that's why I'm with the Lakers. I don't care that we probably ain't gonna get out of second round, and I don't care. I literally don't care. This is a season where I just want to see all of my players get better. I really do. So that's where I'm at with that. And so when I look at teams, like I would not be surprised at all if a healthy Memphis team won the West this year, because they're going to have so much talent. They do got a Marcus Smart coming in. That's two of the last best defensive players of the year on the same team. In Marcus Smart and Jaren Jackson. Jaren got it the last 2 times, and Marcus Smart got it the year before that. So it's like, y'all know what type of defense they're going to be putting on the floor, and Ja Morant's coming back. So looking at Memphis, I'm like, I'm not so sure they're not going to rise to the top. I'm not so sure. This might be their year. With Ja Morant getting suspended like this, get humbled like this, and then come back mid-season to where he didn't have to play 25 games on his leg, so he's likely going to be more healthy in the field in the playoffs. These are the type of things I'm looking at like, yo, y'all look at this suspension like it's going to hurt Ja Morant. Man, that's a guy who be getting injured a lot. That's probably going to help him not having to pay them 25 games. So right now, I look at the Memphis Grizzlies as a legitimate contender to the NBA Western Conference crown. Legitimate right now. Just looking at them on paper, they look pretty good. Especially when I look at their bench with their damn G.G. Jackson and Kenny Lofton and Roddy. Do you know how huge those people are? Yeah, with Jaren Jackson and Brandon Clark and Derrick Rose playing off the bench. I don't know, man. Right now, I like Memphis about as much as anybody. And then there's the Utah Jazz. They are a legitimate contender as well, especially if Keontae George is going to be what it is that he showed us in the Summer League. Which you don't want to overreact to that, but the numbers he was putting up in both of those games, if he's going to show us that type of play, the Utah Jazz are going to be a playoff team for sure. 100%. With Kessler, Markkanen, Agbaji, THT, Olynyk, they might be the deepest team in the league right now. Deepest team in the West. Yeah, they might be. You know, Hendricks. They got so much dang talent, man. Collins. I'm not sure that the Utah Jazz won't be the best team in the Western Conference. I'm not sure. But right now, they look like they may actually be. You consider how Markkanen and them been shooting, and if you know what Taylor Hendricks and Keontae George are capable of, that's what's coming off their bench. Collins can go for 30 any minute. That's already one of the best offenses in the game, and they got one of the best rim protectors in the game as well in their young center, Kessler. So, yeah, they're going to take somebody's spot. Utah's coming, and then the time is probably now. So that's another team, OKC. You know OKC's going to be a contender. I hope people know Chet Holmgren is a game changer for them. He's a game changer. And you got those 3 talented ball handlers, and now you're adding a 7'2" guard who doesn't mind playing the center position and does rim protect very well. I wouldn't be surprised if they come out of the West. So it's going to be parity out here. That's why I look at teams like Golden State, man, y'all a joke. Are you serious? You think you're going to stop teams? No. All these different teams that have so much youth and depth and shooting and scoring and all this different stuff, and you're going to come out here with the same old men that beat up on LeBron when he was with the Heat? Man, if y'all don't get up out of here. I am telling you that some of these teams that we're going to be investing in thinking they're going to do something, they're not going to rise above the fray. They may have good regular seasons. I expect the Phoenix Suns to have a good regular season, but they're going to run into a team like Memphis, and they're going to get knocked off. They're going to run into a team like Utah, and they're going to get knocked off because you're going to realize that they actually have more talent to throw at them. Now, once you put them second units in with some of these dudes, or you're trying to keep your guys healthy after they've been playing 70 straight games, and it's just them 3 doing all the heavy lifting, man, listen, they're going to run into a team like that. All them waves of different rotations that are coming at them that are scoring 35-point quarters and stuff like that. I'm telling you, it's going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly for some of you teams that only playing with 3 players thinking it's going to make it all different, make it all right for you. It ain't going to make it all right. You got to deal with Colin Sexton in the damn 3rd unit. It ain't going to be all right. So, Jordan Clarkson, did we even mention him in this Utah conversation? I think Utah could be the best team in the Western Conference. I really believe that. Call me crazy, but they have all the elements to not only outscore you, but defend you. So, you talk about Taylor Hendricks and Walker Kessler defensively. Well, you got to deal with that. THT and his length, you got to deal with that. I'm buying Utah right now. I'm absolutely buying. The only thing I was worried about with them was Keontae George not being a point guard. He's a point guard. So the end that right there. And the shooting of Agbaji and Markkanen, I'm buying. Say I'm a believer. So long as they stay healthy, they're going to be one of the top 5 teams in the Western Conference, in my opinion. See them coming. I told y'all about Sacramento last year. I told y'all about Cleveland the year before. I'm telling you about Utah right now. And in the Eastern Conference, I even though we're not talking about the Eastern Conference, the team that I think is coming in the Eastern Conference that probably most people don't see coming is the Pacers. I think the Pacers could be this year's Sacramento Kings. I think that. Now, they could very easily be the Pacers, win 25 games with all this talent. But I think with them getting Bruce Bowen, that's an underrated acquisition for their roster. And then Obi Toppin coming in and Jarris Walker, that's a lot of athleticism, friends. That's a lot of athleticism on top of what they already had. In Mathurin, Turner, Buddy, Nembhard, what's that other shooter they got over there that they got from Boston a couple years back? Naismith. They got a squad over there in Pacerland, and with them picking up Ben Shepherd, and I think they took Smith. Then I think they might have took somebody else, another one of those guards that's really high level. I don't remember who it was, but the point is the Pacers got all kinds of depth, all types of young talent. Sticks is there, so much front court depth to throw at you. And I don't know that many teams realize just how good and deep Indy is. I think Indy might actually be probably a fuller team than the Cleveland Cavaliers right now. When I think about some of that crap on the back of the Cavaliers bench, Indy has more substance behind them, to be honest. They don't have a better front seven. I don't think Indy has a Donovan Mitchell on their team. They may not even have, Halliburton is definitely there. He is of that caliber, most definitely in my mind. So that's another thing. It's like when you got all those weapons surrounded by that genius of a floor general and fluid of a shooter and fantastic of a defender, underrated defender Tyrese Halliburton. You got to deal with him. Nembhard, fantastic defender, clutch player. Shot my Lakers down last year. I will know of him as a player I must take seriously going forward. And you putting Bruce Brown next to him, Ben Shepherd next to him, well, I'm telling y'all, the Pacers are the new Sacramento Kings. They got all the elements to light you up and shut you down. So that's what I want to tell people. We start looking at different teams like who's going to emerge. These are the teams that have the ability to emerge. Pay attention to them. Also, the Charlotte Hornets. In the Eastern Conference, yes. Now that we know what type of guards they're throwing out there, they just got to get some addition by subtraction going. They must get Terry Rozier's contract. I finally remembered his name for those who follow me close enough. Terry Rozier's contract needs to get the hell out of there. Right now. Don't pass go, don't collect $200. Get that out of here. Get Gordon Hayward out of here. Right now, before the season even starts. Get them guys out of here, man. I kid you not. I'm moving both of those contracts as a priority if I'm Mitch Kupchak. That has to go because it's going to free up so many opportunities for these young players that are really ready to go. Kai Jones, Miles Bridges is coming back. Obviously, the young rookies that you picked up in Bailey, Smith. Obviously, you got the star there, Melo. So that's a guard rotation with Book Knight. He's going to need minutes. You don't have the rotation necessarily to feature all those guys. But if they don't make a trade, bringing back P.J. Washington as well, possibly. If they don't make a trade, they have one of the deepest teams in the league. That's what all of this has done. Williams, the other center that they got two massive human beings for their center position. That's another thing. They got some bigs. If you need bigs, you may want to go shopping up there because they got plenty of them. So Charlotte is one of the most loaded teams in the league after this draft. Loaded. They didn't even mention Brandon Miller. Loaded. So all they need to do is just get garbage contracts out of their books so that they can have a bunch of opportunities to showcase all of what it is that they now have. And if it all comes together, that could be a team on the rise winning about 35 games. Could be. So it's like some of these teams think they're really good, but they ain't got no real substance on your bench. You think you're going to trot out there with 6 players? You're going to run into the Indies, you're going to run into the Utahs, and you're going to get knocked off. I see it coming. And I'm usually not wrong about these things because roster construction is something that you can see before the games are played. You can see how teams are being constructed versus others. And I'll tell you right now, some of these teams don't have as much as they are going to tell you they have, while other teams that these ESPNs ain't going to talk about are loaded. And they're going to catch up to these guys later. The Indies, the OKCs, the Utahs, they're going to catch up to them later. And I'm telling you, BDF has owned this already. These teams are good. They're good, all 3 of them. So that's what I'm here to tell you. So that's pretty much what I got to say. They're going to have to manipulate things quite a bit this year to keep some small markets from ultimately rising to the top. This could be the year you see a Pacers Utah NBA Finals. I'm serious. I ain't never been more serious because these teams are constructed better than these big name teams. They just constructed better. So that's pretty much what I got to say, man. Hope you guys are enjoying the content I'm giving y'all. My name is BDO44. I thank you all for watching.